Hello guys, this is Lori with LM's Crafty Creations again. I am here to share with you a mini album tutorial. This is my December Craftology project made with Carta Bella's Metropolitan Girl paper. It is a purse, and here's the little handle. It has a little charm that dangles down, and then it opens up like this. There's a little pocket here, and it folds out. It's very easy to make. The hardest part about this album is wrapping your chipboard right here in these corners and getting it wrapped around. Like here, you can see just a little bit. I have some corners showing, so we're going to try to prevent that today. And the pages are really easy, so let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need, we're going to work on the pages first. So let me give you some measurements. We're going to do our base pages, and I haven't put any together yet, so I'm going to do them all on camera with you. So your first base page is going to be, you're going to need to cut 4 pieces at 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and you don't need any scoring on these pieces. These are our pages. And then the other part of that base page, you need to cut 4 at 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Score on the 7.5 inch side at 1/2 inch at each end and add your tape. And then you're going to fold on your score lines and burnish. And we're going to take one of these 4.5 by 6.5 inch pieces and add this right onto the top. So let's do that. I'm going to remove my tape backing, and I'm just going to line it up right here at the bottom all the way across. And I'm going to stick it down and then line it up at the top and stick it down. And I'm going to burnish it. And here is our first base page. Okay, now we're going to do that for the next 4 pages. So burnish and burnish on your score lines. Remove the tape backing. Take your 4.5 by 6.5 inch piece and line it up at the bottom and stick it down. Okay, 2 more to go, guys. This is a short little album, but it will hold quite a few photos. I haven't counted yet. Oh, my light bulb's trying to go out on me because I'm wiggling my table too much. Okay. I haven't counted how many photos will fit in this album, but I think it is quite a few for its size because it's really just a 5 by 7 album. Okay, continuing on with our last base page here, and then we'll start adding elements to them. Make sure you don't have any tape hanging over the edge. Whoops, down too soon. There we go. Now, there's all of our base pages done. Super easy. Okay, now let's go ahead and add the side pockets to the back because that will help determine how we want our flaps on the front, and I'll explain that in a bit. So you're going to add your side pocket on the right hand side here. Okay, so the side pockets are cut, yes, the right hand side are cut. You're going to cut 4 of them at 2.5 inches by 7.5 inches. you're going to score on the 2.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 7.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. I've already added my tape. I'm just going to miter my corners right where those score lines cross. I'm going to cut it. Then I'm going to fold on my score lines and burnish each side. And now I'm going to remove my tape backing, and I'm going to apply it to the right hand side of the base page. Now technically this is going to be the back of your base page. Okay, just lining it up right on the right hand side. And here's my pocket. Okay, now we're going to continue that for all 4. Mitering my corners, folding on my score lines. Remove the tape backing. And then I'm just going to burnish it down here and go on to the next one. I'm going to miter, fold, and burnish. It's like an assembly line. There we go. And now, last one. I got a little carried away with my mitering right there. It's like too flat. It's okay. It's not going to show. Okay, now this becomes the back of our base page for each one because of how we have our pockets placed. So let's get all this stuff out of the way and go on to the flaps. So since our pockets are now in the back, we're going to start adding our flaps to the front. So take one page and make sure that your pocket, when you have it facing down, is on the left hand side. So when you turn it over, it's on the right hand side. Does that make sense? So left hand side here, turn it over, it's on the right hand side. So for our flaps, you're going to cut 4 pieces at 6.5 inches by 9 inches. You're going to score on the 9-inch side at 1/2 inch. Let me show you the tape side. 1/2 inch and then 5 inches. And you're going to need 4 of these. So you're going to fold towards the bumpy side for your 1/2 inch hinge. So see, there's what do they call? Like mountains and valleys. So this is the valley side and this is the mountain side. Okay, so just fold toward the bumpy side. And then on your other flap, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to fold it in to the left. And you can do that on each page, because of how we're going to add them is we're going to add 2 of our flaps on this side of our page and 2 of our flaps on this side of the page so that they alternate. So I'm hoping that makes sense. So once you have your flap folded like this, make sure you add your tape on the underside so the tape will be folded in. Now I'm going to miter this corner here. I'm going to remove my tape backing, and I'm going to stick this in tape side up into my base page. And be careful not to go over the score line, okay? And stick it down and fold it over. And now I'm going to open this up and I'm going to burnish. Okay? So now we still have our pocket here that we've kept open. So the page opens up this way, and then it also opens up this way. So I hope that makes sense. We're going to do another one just like this. So let's do that now. My pocket is on the left-hand side when I have it face down. I've already cut and scored, and I've put my tape on the underside. I'm going to miter my corners, remove the tape backing, and my tape will be facing up. And I'm going to put this flap on the left-hand side of my base page. And being careful not to go over the score line. And burnish. So there we go. Okay, now for the other two, we're going to do the opposite. So we're still going to have our pocket face down to the left-hand side of the base page, right? So we're going to take this that we've already created, and you're going to flip it over this way. So your hinge is on this side. So my tape is still on the inside. I'm going to miter my corner just like I did before, and I'm just going to insert it on the right hand side instead of the left. So I'm going to remove my tape backing and insert my page on the right hand side, being careful not to go over the score line. So I hope I'm explaining this correctly. So now we have our 3 sections that are going this way. On our other page they go the opposite direction. Okay? So let's do one more like this. We're going to take our base page. The pocket is still on the left when you have it facing down on your table. I folded on my score lines, and I have my hinge. I'm going to miter my corners. Again, the tape is on the inside. I'm going to remove the tape backing, and I'm going to put this flap on the right hand side of the opening, tape side up. I apologize, I'm trying really hard not to cough. I have come down with a cold right before Christmas. Okay, and then just burnish. And it looks like my little flap here got a little wonky, so I'm going to re-burnish that to fix it. There we go. Okay, so now this one goes this way. Now when we get inside the book, see how there's this little gap right here on each side, and the other pages should have it on the opposite side. So we're just going to alternate our pages. So this one has the little gap on the right hand side, and then the second page is going to have the little gap on the left hand side, and then again right hand side and then left hand side, and that's how they're going to go into our book. Okay, just alternate them. I'm sorry, I keep losing my light. Okay, now we're done with our pages. That's all you do. We're just going to put those to the side. And I'm going to clean up a little bit of my mess, and we're going to go on to the binding system. Okay, so what I've done here is I've cut a piece of cardstock, at 6.5 by 8.5. And excuse me, I have to take a drink. So sorry. And I've scored starting at 1.5 inches in half-inch increments. So start at 1.5 and score, and then score every half inch until you get to 7, and 7 inches will be your last score line. This will give you 4 hinges for our 4 pages and half-inch gussets in between those. So you have lots of room to add those chunky chipboard embellishments if you like. So turn it over, and let's see. I've already added my tape, and I like to start where the tape is the very first. This is my first half-inch space, so I'm going to go ahead and take my binding, and I'm going to fold right here in between these 2 spaces right here and burnish. Okay. Then I'm going to remove the tape backing. Good grief, light. Keeps going off. It's really annoying. Okay, and I'm going to stick that down. Then I'm going to pull this over this way and burnish again. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing between where there's tape and no tape. I'm going to fold right here. Then I'm going to remove the tape backing and stick it down. Okay, fold it back and burnish. Again, I'm going to fold on the crease between the tape and no tape spaces and burnish. Remove the tape backing and then stick it down. Fold it over, burnish, fold again between the tape and no tape spaces, burnish, remove the tape backing, and then I'm going to stick it down and burnish. Okay, here we go. I'm going to burnish again, and that's it for the binding. Now I'm going to add the tape to the back of it so that it's ready to go when we are ready. So here are my hinges. I'm just going to burnish them in the opposite direction. And actually we can go ahead and add our tape to these as well. So let's do that. I'm going to take 1/4 inch score tape, and I'm going to add my tape to the hinges just like so. I'm doing this to each side of the 4 hinges, and I'm doing it right at the top. I'm staying away from that fold. Okay, last one. And then I'm going to go ahead and miter the corners of these after I burnish my tape down. So that way they're ready for our pages. Okay, Now the last thing I'm going to do is add tape to the back of this quickly, so that when we get our chipboard covers done, we can go ahead and stick this down. And I'm out of my score tape sheets. Those make this go a lot faster, but can you believe I ordered like 3 packages of those sheets and them already out? They go fast when you do so many albums. But they are well worth the cost, because then you don't have to sit here and do this. I like full tape coverage on my binding system. And I learned the hard way that full tape coverage is not the only thing that keeps your binding to your book. You have to make sure that you burnish it really well onto your book as well. I have an album that I did in my early days of doing albums that the binding isn't staying on it very well because I just didn't know to burnish it. So we'll go through that when it gets time in the video. Okay, so now, my gosh, this light is just driving me insane. Is it y'all too that it keeps going off and on? Okay. It's like my light bulb's loose and I keep trying to tighten it. It's not working. Just trying to make it through the video. Okay, I'm burnishing it really well. Getting that tape to stick in all the crevices. And we're going to put this off to the side. It's ready to go. Okay? Stick that with your pages. Now here is what I think is the hardest part of this album, and that's covering the chipboard covers. So what I've done, I have cut 2 pieces at 9 inches by 12. 2 12-inch pieces of cardstock. And now I'm going to join them together with a 1/2 inch piece of tape down the 9-inch side. And I'm going to remove the tape backing from here and then just stick these down together. Just make sure you're even and you're covering all of the tape. And then burnish right down that middle seam. Okay? And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my handy little Tim Holtz ruler here, and I'm going to draw just an inch line from the bottom and an inch line right here on each side so I can line up my chipboard and make it even. Okay, I'm going to do it all the way across. Just a 1-inch pencil line's not going to show. I'm going to try to do this now with all my albums because I find that every time I don't do it, my chipboard comes out uneven because I'm just not good at getting things straight. Okay, that's all you have to do. And now for your chipboard, you're going to want to cut 2 pieces at 5 by 7, and I've already covered mine in score tape. You need 1 piece at 3 by 7, and we're actually going to need to cut this so you get that nice angled look on your purse. So let's do that next. But I'll also tell you you're going to need 2 pieces at 2 inch by 7 inches. So let's I'm just going to move those aside for a minute and let's cut this. So your 3" by 7" piece, I already added my tape, so I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to take my ruler and measure, let's see, 1" over. Do it on the 7" side and just measure 1" over and just make a little mark here, a little tick mark. Do the same thing right here on this other side, the right and the left sides. So there's 1" over. So I made a mark at the 1" and the 6" marks. So now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to put my pencil line right at that 1" mark that I made. And then I'm going to line my ruler up with this corner here. I'm going to draw a line. Make sure your line's straight. So I got a little pencil line here, see it? So we're just going to cut on this line. That's going to make our angled flap. We're going to do the same on this side. I'm going to put my pencil where I made the 1" mark, and then put my ruler at the corner, and I'm going to draw my line. Okay? And here we are. There's my 2 marks. And I'm just going to cut on both of those lines. And I'm just going to use my scissors to do this. Okay? I'm kind of glad I already added my score tape because that way it's at an angle, so I know that I have full coverage of tape on the back of this. Okay? There we go. So that's done. That's our little purse flap. Okay, now we can add these. So this is my 5 by 7 piece. I've already burnished the score tape onto this piece, so I'm going to remove the tape backing. It's very important. Make sure you burnish it first before you remove your tape. You will notice too that the tape backing will come off a lot easier if you've burnished. Okay, and I'm just going to line this up right here at the corner where these 2 lines intersect on each side, sticking it down so it gets nice and even. Okay, and then burnish. Okay, now I'm going to give myself a 1/4" gusset by using my 1/4" tape like I always do. Just going to stick it right in there, all the way up against the chipboard. And I'm just going to tear it off and burnish it down. Okay? So there's my gusset so that my book folds properly. Now, I don't need this piece. I need a 2 by 7" piece for my spine. So I'm going to take that and remove the tape backing. Oops. And I'm going to stick it down, lining it right up against that 1/4" tape, and burnish. I'm going to add another piece of 1/4" tape. Right up against that chipboard piece. And I'm going to burnish it well. And now it's time for your next 5 by 7 piece. So I had some score tape sheets, scrap sheets left I used on this piece. And I'm going to stick this down. Again, lining it up with my 1" bottom line, my pencil line, and up against that 1/4" score tape. Burnish it down. Now it's time for another piece of 1/4" score tape. Right up against the chipboard. Burnish it. Then take your last 2 by 7 inch chipboard piece, remove your tape backing or add your glue, whatever you prefer. And let's stick it down, lining it up against the 1 inch line and the 1/4 inch score tape. Burnish it down. Now I'm going to add my last piece of 1/4 inch tape right up against the chipboard again. Are you tired of hearing me say that yet? And I'm going to burnish it. And I'm going to add the last odd shaped piece, the 3 by 7 inch that we modified. Remove the tape. I'm going to stick it down. And make sure you're lining this up again. Sometimes it's kind of tricky since it's at an angle. And then burnish. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a 1 inch line from this piece here because I don't need all this overhang, so I'm going to cut it off. So there's my 1 inch mark right there. If I measure from the right side, I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off. I think it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing if I do one step at a time. So that piece is done. So now I'm also going to measure 1 inch from each side of here and draw a line to get rid of just a little bit of this bulk on this side. Same thing on this side. And I'm going to cut it off. So that's what it looks like. Just going to trim it on each side. So there we go. Now I'm done with my ruler. I'm going to add my score tape. And it's at this point normally that I go ahead and remove the tape backing from these 1/4 inch spaces. So just don't need them. Now, this should be interesting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something a little different than what I normally do. Yeah, I'm going to add 1/2 inch tape. Yeah, right here at the base of my chipboard. Okay. And then I'm going to add another piece right here at the bottom of my cardstock. Instead of trying to get it right up against the chipboard, when I fold it over, it'll be complete coverage there. Okay? Seems like it's going to be a little easier. I'm going to do the same on this side right here. All the way down. I might even overlap it just a bit. Tiny, tiny bit. And I'm going to do this all the way around. You might get some overlap, that's okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this side. You get a miter these corners here, so you don't need to do it right there at the very end. Just go to the edge of the chipboard. Okay, last piece. We'll see how this works out. I've never done it this way before, and it seems like it would be more efficient. We'll see. Okay, I'm just going to kind of go along here and burnish this a bit. I'm going to do that all the way around both of my tape edges. And I'm going to go ahead and miter these corners right here. And some people measure, I just guess. And I give, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch gap right there. Seems to work for me. This is the easiest part to stick down, so I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So, just going to burnish this up a bit. Oops. And then I'm going to remove this tape right here, as well as this tape, and then just the little corner pieces of this tape, so it can stick down. Burnish it, and stick it over. Okay. Wasn't so bad. Now, I'm going to kind of tuck in my corners just a bit. So this has been my difficult part. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to miter this right here. So can you see that? That's the edge of that chipboard piece right here. Like there's the tape and then the gap and then the edge. I'm going to cut at a diagonal right up against to that corner. Right there. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Right, let's see. Whoops, I just lost something. Let me make sure I got this going on the right way. So yeah, right up against the corner again. And I'm going to kind of miter it, or cut it, or whatever you want to say. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these pieces down. Get rid of those. So I'm going to remove my tape backing here. So, and I'll remove this tape backing so you can kind of see more of the cut. I know it's kind of hard to tell because the score tape is there. So see what I've done there? I did just what I did right here and angled it right here, right where that corner is on this flat piece. So I'm going to do the same thing I always do. I'm just going to kind of burnish it a bit. Start bringing it up just a tiny bit. Whoops. Training the paper. Kind of breaking some of those fibers so that when it goes all the way down, it doesn't crack. Looks like this is going to have some overhang here, so I'm going to take this little bitty piece of tape up. If I can get it. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish this down. Just slowly fold over and stick it down. I've gotten to where I like doing this with my hands, folding over the paper. Then I'm just going to burnish it all down really well. And I'm going to do the same to the opposite side. So we got a nice corner there. We're going to flip it over, do the exact same thing. I'm going to go ahead and remove this tape, and I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to burnish this up a little bit. Not everybody does this. Some people just fold it down, but I kind of like to have mine just burnished a bit. I just find that it folds easier for me that way. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this down. Okay. Got a nice corner right here. I'm going to burnish Oops, there we go. Now, this is the hard part to me. So I'm going to do, what am I going to do? I'm going to cut a little slit. This is what I did before. It seemed to work out good. So I'm going to cut here, leaving about 1/8 of an inch. Can you see this? I'm cutting here. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch up to here. And then I'm going to do this. No. What am I going to do? I'm just going to cut it at an angle. And let's just practice and see. So you don't want this overhang on this flap here. So I'm going to need to cut this even with the flap. So a bit more. Okay, see what I've done here? So I have this little cover where hopefully, let's burnish this up. Kind of tuck in our corner a bit. It's just like the third time I've made this book. You'd think I'd have it down by now. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. You can keep this here. It doesn't really matter. But this is how you need to cut this side. And you're going to do the exact same thing on this other side. So let's do that. And so I can show you again. So I'm going to cut this at an angle, just like I do all my other flaps. But I'm going to stay about 1/8 of an inch away from this corner right here. So see what I've got going on? About right there. Now I need this piece of paper right here to be even with this corner. So I'm just going to cut it straight. So see how I have that little tiny 1/8 of an inch gap right there. That's what you need to make sure you have full coverage on your cover. So here's what we've got. So I'm going to remove all the tape. Well, at least I think I'm going to do one at a time. Just have little pieces of tape. I'm going to have to remove this. Maybe I'll just move it all at the same time. We're learning as we go here, people. Learning together how to do odd shaped corners. I'm not a mini album expert by any means necessary. Okay, so now I'm going to do like I always do and go ahead and I'm just going to fold this over because I already kind of trained it and stick it down. And I think it's coming out quite nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side. I'm going to stick this down first, kind of burnish it, fold it over, stick it down. Okay. I'm going to make sure I've got some corners tucked in here. And burnish this. I'm going to stick it down. And we have a winner. Nicely covered book. Okay, there we go. It worked. Now, I'm just going to kind of burnish this outside cover just a bit, just to make sure we have good tape coverage all the way around. Okay. So, there's our book. Now, you can go ahead, and I like to just fold in where the creases are and just give it a good little burnish right there in between the creases. Don't do it too hard, you'll tear your paper. But it just kind of makes the paper stick to that 1/4 inch tape we put there and slowly start folding it in. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Folding it in. And then right here. Okay. And here is our book. And I got a little overhang here. Just going to take and tuck that in. There we go. There's our purse. So now let's add the binding. So we're going to take this. Let's give it a little measurement here. It's going to be pretty close. You're not going to have much space on either side. Maybe about 1/8 of an inch, because I did the 1/2 inch just to give you more space for embellishing. So I'm going to remove my tape backing. If you want to take your ruler and mark 1/8 of an inch over on each side from the chipboard piece to make sure you line up your binding system perfectly, I've done that before and it works out great. I don't always do it. Sometimes I just eyeball it. Now I have a piece here that was like the end of my score tape roll. It's not really adhering down very well, so I'm just going to give it a little glitter glue. Make sure that that stays where it should. Okay. Love me some glitter glue. Okay, now I'm going to take this and stick it down. Carefully making sure I have it nice and even on the top and the bottom. And that's as good as it gets. And then I'm going to burnish. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish it to the side of the book. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish inside the gussets. Make sure you burnish really well. This is what I was talking about. If you don't burnish this really well, you won't get a good stick and your book won't last. Okay? Your binding will come off. Burnish really well. So I'm going to lift it up a bit. Get in that crease just a little bit. Not too hard, you'll tear your paper, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing right here. Burnish, burnish. I'm going to lift this up, get that crease going, and burnish in there. Okay? I think it all turned out really even. I'm really happy with that. So, again, I'm going to kind of fold my book closed, get that paper used to folding in. And we're ready to add our pages, guys, so let's do that next. Now I'm going to flip my book this way because that's how I like to add my pages, and I'm going to start with the back one first. Now, as I told you before, you can do all of your pages the same direction if you prefer. I like to have this where it has this little gap here, and they open up like this, and then this page will go this way. You have your pocket, and then this page opens up like this. Does that make sense? They alternate. So you have a gap on the right hand side here and a gap on the left hand side on the next page, and then it alternates back to the right and then back to the left. Hope that makes sense. So I'm going to do my pages face down, and I'm going to add them one at a time, starting with the back page, the last page. I'm going to remove my tape backing. Sometime. There we go. And I'm going to add my page. And these should be fairly easy to add. Make sure you don't go all the way to the score line. And then burnish. Okay? First page done, and super easy. Okay. Now, next page. Stick it down, burnish, open up that flap and burnish if you need to. Burnish on the side with the pocket. And next one. Okay, again, burnish, flip it over, burnish again, and now our last page. Get it on there? Yes, I did. Sometimes it's hard to tell. I like to lay it flat and kind of wiggle it on there a little bit, make sure I stay away from that score line. And then I stick it down. Where's that? There it goes. Okay. That's it. Now, I did have some extra pockets in my book, so I want to share those measurements with you right now. Let's see. Where did I put it? Let me just show you the actual finished book, and I will tell you that this pocket right here measures 6 inches by 4 inches. Score on the 6-inch side at 1/2 inch at each end, and on the 4-inch side at 1/2 inch, and that will give you this pocket. For the inside pockets here, they are almost the same. You could do them exactly the same and it will still work. But I did mine at 6 inches by 3 inches, and score on the 6-inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and on the 3-inch side at 1/2 inch. Okay. My photo mats inside the pockets are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. My photo mats inside the side pockets measure 6 inches by 4 1/4. And then what else do I have that's different? The only other thing, I will go ahead, these photo mats I just made out of scraps, but I'll go ahead and give you the measurements. They are 4 inches by 6 inches is this one. This one is 4 inches by 5 3/4. So you have that. And then, what else did I have? This photo mat is a little different too in the back pocket. It measures 4 1/2 inches by 6 inches for that one. And I think that's it, guys. That's all the measurements I have of everything that I did in this album. If you wanted to add a pocket on the back, like the same kind of pocket, that would look adorable too. I thought about it, but decided that I just like the plain with the rhinestones. So what I did for my handle here is I took this trim, and if you can see my eyelet right there, I took my crocodile and went in as far as it would go and made a hole on each side, and I did set an eyelet on it, and then I just threaded this trim through those holes, and I glued it down on the opposite side right here. Okay, so I just used score tape. I didn't use actual glue. That's why I say like this handle is not really functional. I wouldn't want anyone to really pull on it very much. But you could use glue and that would probably be a lot better. For my charm, I took a Tim Holtz, this whole thing is Tim Holtz, And then I already had the butterfly charm, and in your kit, if you got the Craftology box, you'll have the 2 purse charms, and I added a little key. And then for the this was a chipboard element that already had the hole in it. I just backed it on cardstock and stuck it through this bottom ring of the Tim Holtz. I don't even know, what do you call these things? Chain. And then I just stuck it on the trim. Can't think of words today. Now you could, if you have stronger magnets than me, you can do a magnetic closure. You can also do like a hinge closure if you want. I went with a seam binding because it's what I had in my stash, and so all I did was take this flower and I glued the seam binding to the back of this flower and then glued the flower down here and did the same with this chipboard element, and that's what holds my book closed. And I really think that once it's shut, it looks really cute. You know, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And so you can do this if you like. Mine's fraying because I've been tying and opening this a lot. And I think that's it. I can't think of anything else that I need to tell you guys. Just remember that when you mat this right here, don't be intimidated by it. All you need to do, remember how we cut our chipboard piece to 3 by 7? Well, just cut your mat 1/4 of an inch smaller. So it's going to be 2 3/4 by 6 3/4, and then measure in 1 inch on each side of the 6 3/4 inch side and draw your diagonal line to the corner just like we did with the chipboard piece. It's exactly the same, and just cut it off and it will mat this perfectly. That's all that I did there, and I did that on either side. So it's super easy. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me, leave me a comment. Let me know how you like this. If you make this project, I'd like to see it. So I do check out the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations Facebook page, and if you post your creations, feel free to tag me in them, and I'll see them, and I'd love to see your creations. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope that it was very informative and easy to follow, and if you have any suggestions for me, I would love to hear them. So thanks for watching. Visit countrycraftcreations.com, the best online scrapbook store you will ever find with the fastest shipping, and thanks for watching.